everybody. So I'm going to talk to you today and show you how to do each of the 6 measuring methods. So the first method we're going to look at is on slide number 5, and that is the lightly spoon method. This method is done, so on your slide you want to write what ingredients this is done with. It's done with flour, powdered sugar, and cocoa powder. Those are the 3 ingredients that this measuring method is used for. The equipment that you need for this method is a spoon or a scooper, your measuring device, which would be a measuring cup or a measuring spoon, and a metal spatula to level off with. Now, this measuring method is used for ingredients that you can end up packing in too much and then you get too much of the ingredient. So we want it to be light and fluffy, so you don't want to pack it down too much. So basically how you do this is you scoop out the ingredient with your scooper or spoon and you lightly spoon it into your measuring device. So in this case I'm using a cup. I don't want to pack it in at all. And then I'm going to take my metal spatula and I'm going to level off the excess. So when you look at it, it is completely level, okay? And the item is packed in there. When I'm done doing this, I should be able to just dump it out and dump out real nice and not look like the container at all. So again, it's flour, powdered sugar, and cocoa powder. You use your scooper, your measuring device, and a metal spatula. You scoop up the ingredient, lightly spoon into your measuring device, and level it off. And at the bottom of your slide, you want to add a couple pictures that will help you remember things about this method. So you could insert pictures of the ingredients, of the tools, whatever you want to insert there. Okay, so that's lightly spoon. Our next measuring method is on slide number 6, and this is level with hand. With this measuring method, you want to use this for something that we call lumpy, bumpy ingredients. So things like chocolate chips, chopped nuts, shredded cheese, cut up fruits and vegetables, cereal, granola, pretty much anything that's lumpy and bumpy, you're going to use this method. The only piece of equipment you use for this method is the measuring cup or spoon, and that's it. You don't need anything else to do this method. So under the ingredients that it uses, definitely write lumpy bumpy and then list a couple of the ones I listed. So I'm going to show you on chocolate chips today. So with this method, I'm going to take my measuring cup, and if your bag is big enough, you can scoop it out. This bag's kind of small, so instead of scooping it out, I'm going to pour them in. And you always want to be measuring over something. So if they fall out, whatever you're measuring over will pick it up. Actually, I'm going to move this up here to work on because it'll be easier. Okay, so right now I have a mound of the chocolate chips. That's not what I want. That is not done correctly. So after I put some chocolate chips in it, I still need to level it with my hand, which is why it's called level with hand. And I'm basically going to use my hand to kind of level off the top. So you want to take off those extra ones that are on the top, make it as flat as you can. You may have a couple little pieces hanging off the top, but for the most part, it should be flat. You just don't want a mound, okay? And then that would be how you measure it. Now, some people make the mistake when they're doing this method and use the metal spatula. So I've measured it correctly already, but what I want you to watch is how many of the chocolate chips end up falling off when I use the metal spatula. Okay, so it's done correctly already. I'm going to take my metal spatula. I'm going to go across. So it took about 10 chocolate chips off. So the problem with this now is we don't have enough. So there's a lot of missing space of our chocolate chips in here. and that's not good, especially with chocolate chips. We want lots of those. So if you use the metal spatula, you're going to end up with too little of the amount. So again, you're just going to use the palm of your hand to flatten it out a little bit. The bigger the item, the harder it's going to be to get it completely flat. So for example, if I cut up some strawberries and they were strawberry halves, you're going to end up having some strawberries that are sticking out a lot and some that aren't, that are places where it's lower. And so what you basically want to avoid is having a big mound at the top. So you'll have some pieces sticking up off the top. Usually when you use this method, the measurement doesn't have to be exact. So if you were doing marshmallows or something like that, you would be okay. Okay, so that is the level with hand method. The next method is eye level. So eye level is used for liquid ingredients, but it's only liquid ingredients in which we're using the liquid measuring cup, which is anything over 1/4 of a cup. When we do this method, we have to have the liquid measuring cup flat on the counter. We don't want to hold it in our hand. If we hold it in our hand, then our hand isn't necessarily level. Okay, so we can be tilted a little bit, and we want to make sure it's completely flat. So on the side, you want to find the measurement that you need, and you're basically going to pour your item in there until it hits the line that you need. Now, this measuring method is used for liquids, obviously, like milk and oil and water, but it's also used for things like sauce. So if you're using pizza sauce, applesauce, any sort of puree like that, it's used. So if your item is any bit on the liquidy side, this is the method that you're going to use. Okay? The thicker the item, the slower you want to go, because it's going to be really hard to get it out if you pour too much. So if I'm measuring honey, for example, honey is super sticky and it kind of takes a long time to get out. So if I don't go slow and I have way too much honey, then you have to do this whole process of taking some out and putting it back in, and it's too much. If you are using water or something that's like you would be getting out of the faucet, it's a little bit easier if you're actually pouring from something else, because you don't want to be holding this while you're doing the measuring. So if I needed 1/2 cup, I would turn my measuring device so I'm looking at the side that's 1/2 cup. I bend over so that I'm even with the measuring cup, and I pour slowly until I get the measurement that I need. Okay, and that's the eye level. So it's used with any liquids. The only piece of equipment you need is the liquid measuring cup, and you basically pour when the cup is level on the counter. You pour until you get to the line that you need, and then you're done. Our next measuring method is called pack firmly. Pack firmly are for ingredients that would get air pockets in them. Okay, so with this method, it applies to things like brown sugar, peanut butter, yogurt, sour cream, shortening, which is also known as Crisco. You might know what that is. Pretty much anything that could get air pockets in it. So when we do this method, we need to pack the item in to get rid of those air pockets and make sure that we have the right amount. So I'm going to be using brown sugar for this example. Brown sugar is basically white table sugar that has molasses added to it. There's light brown sugar and dark brown sugar. The light brown sugar has just a little bit of molasses added to it, so it's lighter in color and it's not as strong in flavor. Dark brown sugar, which is what I have right here, has a little more molasses, so it's a little more sticky and it's stronger in flavor. So you have to figure out which one. Usually a recipe will call for one or the other, but it's really not that big of a deal if you replace one for the other. The other thing before I do this is with brown sugar, sometimes it will get hard in the bag or the container, especially if air has been in it. So if that happens, it doesn't matter how hard or how long the brown sugar has been hard, stick a piece of bread in the bag or in the container, close it, let it sit overnight, and then next thing you know, when you go in, you'll take the piece of bread out, the bread's gonna be hard, and then all the moisture from the bread went back into the brown sugar, and it's good to go. Okay, so don't throw it away. It's easy to fix with a piece of bread. So with this measuring method, I'm going to pack it in. So I'm going to take my measuring cup, which is either a measuring cup or a spoon is the one piece of equipment that you need. I'm going to reach into the bag. And then what I do so that my hands don't get super sticky is I put my hand on the outside of the bag. My measuring cup is inside the bag. And I basically push down with the palm of my hand to make sure I pack it in there. I'm going to add a little bit more and do the same thing because my hand isn't flat. So when I do that, if I have just the exact amount, it's not going to actually be even on the top. So I'm going to push it in there. As you can see, I have way too much. So the last step after I pack the item in there is to level it off. So I'm doing this over the bag so my brown sugar will fall right in it. Okay. So we level it off. So we pack it in, we level it off. Now the most exciting part about this method that everybody seems to like is it's similar to a sandcastle. When you pack in moist sand into a bucket and you flip it over when you're doing a sandcastle, it should look like the bucket. Same goes with when you do brown sugar. So I'm going to turn my measuring cup over, pour it out, and now when you see it, it looks exactly like the container. You know you did a good job when you do that. Okay, so if it comes out looking like the container, that's great. Now, all your other ingredients that you would use this method for aren't going to do that because peanut butter, shortening, yogurt, all of those don't really hold the shape of the container. So brown sugar is really the only thing that will do that. Okay, so you can add some pictures there at the bottom. The next measuring method on slide number 9 is default method. So basically, if your ingredient isn't any other method that I've gone over, then it's going to be the default method. The default method, it's very difficult to mess this up because it's basically scoop and level. Okay, this is for things that don't get air pockets and things that don't pack in. So they have a shape that's not going to change. Salt, sugar, your spices like cinnamon and nutmeg, baking powder, baking soda, cornstarch, pretty much anything you use. When you do this method, it is super easy. You take your measuring device, your cup or your spoon, you scoop it out, take your metal spatula, and you level it off, okay? When you pour it, it should pour sort of like a liquid. It should just pour right out. Okay, so that is the default. So default means that if nothing else works, that's the one you use. Now, the other thing that fits under default are liquids that are less than 1/4 of a cup. So if you are measuring anything in measuring spoons, if it's not a pack firmly or a lightly spoon, it's a default. So liquids above 1/4 of a cup are eye level, and liquids that are under 1/4 of a cup are default. Okay, because there's no way, you can't do eye level with a measuring spoon. Okay, so if I'm measuring vanilla, I'm going to have a custard cup, I'm going to have my measuring spoon, I'm going to pour the vanilla in until it's filled up, and then I transfer it to where I'm going to. Okay, so default applies to pretty much any solid ingredient like salt, sugar, spices, but also liquids that are measured in measuring spoons. Okay, so then our last method that we are going to do is I'm going to show you is the stick method. Okay, so the stick method applies to any ingredient that is in a stick or a block form. So we're talking butter, margarine, cream cheese. Okay, those are pretty much the only ones that come in block form. When you do this measuring method, you find the measurement you need on the paper or on the foil, and you basically cut right through on the measurement that you need. So on a butter package, there are 8 tablespoons in a stick of butter. So these little boxes down here represent the tablespoons. So if I needed 1 tablespoon, I would find the line after the 1 and I would cut right through the paper on that line. Now don't take the paper off first because then you lose the measurement. If I need a whole 8 tablespoons, I don't have to do anything. I just take the paper off of the butter and I'm good to go. So the equipment that you need to do this method are actually cutting equipment. You need a cutting board and a knife. Cream cheese has a foil package, and we're talking about the cream cheese that's in a block. So you find your measurement, you cut right through the foil. Okay, so at this point, you should be able to fill out all the measuring method slides up to slide number 10. Make sure you explain how you do the method, what equipment you need to do the method, what are some examples of ingredients that use the method, and then some pictures. Insert some pictures at the bottom of the slide to help you remember what this method, how you do it, or what ingredients are done. And then when we do the mug cakes, you'll be able to see these again in action with ingredients that we're going to be doing with the mug cake. So if you have any questions, you want to make sure you let me know if there's something that you don't understand. We are going to be talking about measuring methods the whole entire time we're in this class, because every recipe that we make is going to include some sort of measuring. Okay, so we will be talking about these the whole time. So I hope you learned something, and make sure your slides are filled out, and let me know if you have any questions.